Let's start learning grammar. In this video, we are going to talk about the most important topic of English grammar, that is verbs. I'm calling it the most important topic because whenever we frame any sentence in English language, we require a verb. So in this video, we will talk about the basic sentence structure in English language. Then we will talk about the definition of a verb. Then we will discuss functions of a verb in a sentence. We will also discuss some basic forms of verbs for better understanding. And at the end, we will talk about all the types of verbs. Now, let us try to understand the basic sentence structure in English grammar. One way to begin studying basic sentence structures is to consider the traditional parts of speech, that is, nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, articles, and interjections. Now, the parts of speech come in many varieties and may show up just about anywhere in a sentence. To know for sure what part of speech a word is, we have to look not only at the word itself but also at its meaning, position, and use in a sentence. Now, the basic parts of a sentence are the subject, the verb, and often but not always the object. Now, the subject. When we talk about the subject, it means we usually talk about a noun, a word that names a person, place, or thing. The verb, which identifies an action or state of being, and at the end, the object, the receiver of the action. So in English, our sentences usually operates using a similar pattern like subject, verb, and then object. The nice part about this type of structure is that it lets the reader or the listener to easily know who is doing the action and what the outcome of the action is. As you can see here, some sentences have the pattern subject plus verb plus object. The child lost his pen. Now here the child is subject, lost is a verb, and his pen is an object. Similarly, she opened the door. Here she is our subject, opened is our verb, and the door is our object. Whereas other sentences have the pattern subject plus verb. It means there is no object. As you can see in the example, the sun rose. Here the sun is our subject and rose is our verb. The moon is shining. The moon is our subject. Is shining is our verb. I hope now you have understood the importance of verb in English sentences. Even if you want to speak the shortest sentence like go there. Now this is an imperative sentence. Here also you require a verb. Go. Now let's understand the definition of a verb. As per the definition, a verb is a kind of word or it is that part of speech that indicates an action or a state of being. Now before we move forward, we need to understand what is the meaning of action and what is the meaning of state of being. Action here refers to the work done or being done by the noun, or you can say action means activity. For example, sing, talk, go, come, sleep, eat. These are all action words, and there are thousands of such words which help us to understand the sentence effectively. Now, what is state of being? State of being refers to those words which help us to understand the time and the physical and mental condition of a noun, or you can say the subject. Now, to understand better, you can also say that state is something changeable over the period of time. State is about present tense, past tense, or future. For present, we use is, am, are. For past, we use was, were. For future, we use will. And being here refers to state of existence. So, state of being refers to verbs which refer to physical condition, mental condition, or state of existence rather than action. Let's understand this with the help of examples. He walks in the morning. Here we are talking about an activity or an action, walk. You can replace this word with any other word, any other action word, depending upon the context. We can say he sings in the morning. He plays in the morning. He works best in the morning. All these words are action words. Let's look at the second sentence. She is a good girl. In this sentence, we do not have any action word, but we have a word which is helping us to understand the physical condition of a girl, that is the state of being good. And which word is helping us to understand this? That word is. Now we can replace this is with was if we want to talk about past tense. We can replace it with will if we want to talk about future tense. She was a good girl. She will be a good girl. So if we say she is depressed, so here in this sentence we are talking about state of being depressed. That is the mental condition of the noun. When we use verbs in sentences, we need to be particular as they are related to lot of other factors like the subject, person, number, tense, mood, voice, etc. And on the basis of this, we can divide verbs into main verbs and helping verbs. Now, main verbs are also called action words because they describe an action like play, jump, eat, work, study, drive, write, talk, etc. And helping verbs, which are in contrast to non-action verbs, which describes a state of being, a need, an opinion, or a sense. They help the main verbs in a sentence by extending their meaning. They can also add detail to how time is conveyed in a sentence. Now, these verbs also function to convey complicated shades of meaning like expectation, permission, probability, potential, obligation, and direction. They are very important because they are needed to make up the structure of a sentence. And these helping verbs are accordingly divided into primary auxiliary verbs and modal auxiliary verbs. As you can see here, primary auxiliary verbs are again further divided into three categories: do form of the verbs, be form of the verbs, and have form of the verbs. all three of which can function as either main verbs or helping verbs. Do and does are used in present indefinite tense and did is used in simple past, or you can say past indefinite tense. Be form of the verbs are used in simple present and simple past tense. You can say is, am, are. They are used in present tense. Was, were are used in past tense. Being is used in participle and been is used in past participle. And as I said earlier, modal auxiliary words like can, could, may, might, shall, should, etc. they talk about permission, probability, potential, obligation, expectations, etc. So we have learned that the function of a verb is to show an action, that is, some act has been carried out by the subject. Now verbs help to understand the tense or the time of action. They inform us whether the action took place in past, it is happening in present, or it will happen in future. Verb also shows the duration of action. She has been reading since morning. Now, verbs show speaker's attitude, mood or state of mind, or you can say the mode or manner in which the action denoted by the verb is represented. Verb shows whether one or more than one person or thing is talked about. If we are using is, it means our noun is one, and if we are using are, it means the noun or the subject is plural. Verb also shows whether its subject acts or is acted upon. She is reading a book. In this sentence, the subject she is in action. When we say a book is being read by her, here the subject, a book, is acted upon. Now, to know verbs in detail, we need to know the basic forms of verbs. So there are 6 basic forms of verbs. First is the base form or the root word, which is also called first form of a verb. You might have heard go, went, gone. Here, go is base form or first form of the verb, or you can say the root word, which exists without a special ending or suffix on their own. With base form, we can form the other forms of verbs like S form of the verb, goes, the past form, went, the ing form, going, and the participle form, gone. So this is how we can form words from the base form, and that is why it is very important to know the root words. Then we have infinitives, that is 2 plus verb. It looks like a verb, but it acts as a noun, adjective or adverb in a sentence. Then the second form of the verb, which is called the past form of the verb. They played football. Here, played is the past form of play. Then we have past participle, which includes has, have or had with the third form of the verb. They have played football. Next is present participle, which include ing verbs and are used as an adjective or to form verb tense. I saw them playing with him yesterday. And the next one is gerund, which are ing form of verbs which function as a noun in a sentence. They look like verbs but they function as a noun. Playing is fun. Here, playing is the name of an activity. That is why it is a noun. We will get into detail of these basic forms of verbs in the second part of this video. Until unless we will not understand all these verbs in detail, we won't be able to use them precisely in our sentences. Now, on the basis of the function of verbs in a sentence, the verbs are divided into finite verbs and non-finite verbs. Now, finite verbs act as verbs and change according to time, person, and number. Whereas non-finite verbs, they do not act as verbs and do not change according to time, person, and number. As you can see here, play change into played according to tense. Play is present form and played is past form. We use is with he and am with I. That means our verb is and am are changing according to first person and second person and third person. And here you will notice has is used with singular and have goes with plural. So these verbs change according to time, place, and number. But when we look on the other side, we will notice that these verbs, they do not change according to time, person, and number. I love to sing. He loves to sing. They will love to sing. Here, the infinitive to sing is not changing with person, I, he, or they. It is not changing with tense also. I love to sing, present tense. He loved to sing, this is past tense. They will love to sing, this is future tense. So there is no change according to present, past, or future. And these non-finite verbs act as nouns, adjectives, and adverbs. For example, if we look at this sentence, singing is my hobby. Here, the word singing is not a verb. It is the name of an activity and thus playing the role of a noun. So, it is a gerund. And thus, accordingly, we divide all the verbs into finite and non-finite verbs. Now, finite verbs include main verbs, linking verbs, and auxiliary verbs. Whereas non-finite verbs include infinitives, gerund, and participle. As you can see here, main verbs are further divided into regular, irregular, transitive, and intransitive. Linking verbs are those verbs which link a subject with a noun or adjective in a sentence. And as we have already discussed, the helping verbs or the auxiliary verbs, they include be form of the verbs, do form of the verbs, have form of the verbs, and modals. Then We also learned that infinitives are to plus verb. Gerunds are ing form of verbs which look like verbs but act as nouns. And then we have participles which are further of two types, present participle and past participle. Present participle end with ing and past participle usually end with ed, de, en or n. I hope you have got some basic idea of all the verbs discussed in this video. We will learn about finite and non-finite verbs in detail in the next video. So keep watching and keep learning.